very good morning to you, and welcome to the Morning Dew Show here on Isaac TV, the cradle of goodness. My name is Anne Mungai.
And my name is Andy Mike Kilambo. Good morning. You can reach us on our social media platforms, that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our numbers are running down below your screen, so keep the conversation so much alive.
Yes, and the hashtag is always the Morning Dew Show. Now, today being the 1st of August, we're actually 7 days to the general election. We have a lot lined up for you, but first, let's look at what is happening on the headlines.
And on the Daily Nation today, Uhuru launches the Nairobi Expressway. That continues on page 8. And the biggest story here is the shape of Mount Kenya, how Ruto wrenched the mountain away from the unsuspecting Uhuru, and why Raila presents an ever-present danger. That is, it continues on page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Other stories also making headlines on the Daily Nation. Cost of living. City residents to pay more for water in new raft of proposals. Food security. The Treasury extends duty-free import of maize by 2 months.
Now, looking at the Standard, there are a lot of stories making headlines, but the main one is on page 4 and 5 that says numbers that show the huge task for IEBC. Another story on page 6 and 7 says Uhuru to DP, I've had power but didn't harm you despite your insults. We'll get into details with that. Now, there's another story on page 8 that says Azimio dangles agriculture reforms in Rift Valley tour. We'll look at that. And another story still on the same page 8 says Ruto sells 30% share to Western. That and a lot more stories making headlines. Right now, let's look at what is the newspaper review.
Yep, and let's start off with the shape of Mount Kenya. And just to highlight a little bit what the Daily Nation says, it says how Ruto wrenched the mountain away from the unsuspecting Uhuru, and why Raila presents an ever-present danger. And there, just a little bit of it is, William Ruto has pitched tent in Mount Kenya for the last 5 years, aiming to wow millions here who overwhelmingly voted for Jubilee in the last 2 elections by selling himself as the natural successor to President Uhuru Kenyatta. His political strategy for the region consisted of his best-laid plans required long-term planning, flawless execution, and co-option of the churches. He succeeded in converting millions heteros Uhuru supporters to ditch their former leader and back his audacious State House quest against Raila Odinga. But now the slope is slippery. The turnout numbers required to assure him victory, the margin of that victory and containing Raila's encroachment will test not only the man, but his faith too. Yeah?
Yeah.
So as you can see, Mount Kenya is a hotspot, is a place to look at, because it has numbers of voters in it. And as per before this, when it was just Ruto, Ruto played a part in gaining those votes. You remember he was also part, an idea of whatever was going to happen in from the leaders of the Mount Kenya region. You remember them saying about the plan they had of him succeeding Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
So right now there's pressure because he's not really sure if he still has those loyal followers. But in the last decade, he's been doing that. He's been wowing them by going back there, talking to them all the way just to make way for this time. But right now we have Raila Odinga, who has also been there camping for the longest time and trying to make an impact. Having Martha Karua as his running mate shows a lot of how they are going to get votes from the Mount Kenya region. If you remember also, the Murang'a governor, Mwangi wa Iria, also is part of the Azimio, which means it's a place to look at because it has a lot of voters who can change the dimensions of the elections so far. Yeah.
Now, speaking of Mount Kenya, actually, the Deputy President, William Ruto, and his running mate Gachagua have been going all out to win difficult areas in Mount Kenya. And you know that these are those areas that maybe they think they're not so strongly indulged when it comes to this election. They are not sure if they'll get votes there. The likes of Kieni and Meru. Actually, they have visited Meru 5 times in 2 months to go and check maybe and see if they still have some hope there. You know, and it's a crucial time because right now we are actually at 7 days to election, so they're actually doing their best to make sure they get all the votes in Mount Kenya, because Mount Kenya region has a big number, and every candidate is actually reaching out to Mount Kenya mostly.
Yeah, just to add on that, the story continues on page 2, 3, 4, and 5, and just a little bit the strategy. Ruto invaded the mountain soon after the last elections and wormed his way into the hearts and minds of locals through the church. He also demystified power by regularly inviting people to his current residence. So Ruto, resting easy in Mount Kenya, faces a Raila onslaught, because Raila is now coming up very fast. But just to read some quote that it is here: the voice of the Mudhamaki rings in one's ear for a long time. A man tells us of the streets of Gatundu, metaphor for how deep Ruto went into the mountain. The man is responding to our questions on whether if President Kenyatta made a direct appeal to his constituency to support Mr. Odinga, they would listen to him. His answer, cryptic but clever, shows the cognitive dissonance among some of the voters here. On the other hand, the defiance of their leader is unfair territory, and on the other, there is the heady, exhilarating excitement of rebellion and the pull of Mr. Ruto and his political message. So this is just a tidbit of what is happening on this story. You can have a copy, grab a copy of your Daily Nation and read more on that battle for votes in the Mount Kenya region. Yeah.
Okay, looking at another story on page 4 and 5, it says that numbers that show the huge task for IEBC. Now, countdown. With 7 days to election, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has a critical duty to deliver a credible poll. The logistical enormity is unprecedented. And actually, they have lined up for you how the process will be, because right now on page 4, it says that we have 46,233 polling stations. And as of now, 22,120,458 registered voters. And 700 maximum voters per polling station, according now to the election. That is how they have planned it. So every polling station stream carries 700 voters, not more. And there'll be 16,100 candidates. Imagine.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and they have actually put it out for you. You can check it out on page 4. It is segmented in a very, very easy way whereby you can understand. So it says what it means for IEBC. In April, IEBC estimated that more than 500,000 personnel will spread countywide on election day.
Yeah.
Because they have actually employed a lot of people. Yeah, apart from that, there'll be 500,000 staff and security officers in total. That's a lot. That's a lot of.
They've really created employment.
Yes. For those few days, at least people will get something to do. Now, and they also, it says here what it takes to run a polling station, because we actually need to know what really takes to run a polling station.
Sure.
Now it says one polling station queuing clerk. There must be a queuing clerk who says, line up here, don't line up here. Girls here. Yeah.
All the people here and the others this other side.
Yes. So there must be a queuing clerk and one presiding officer, one voter register clerk, 3 ballot papers issuing clerks, one ballot box controller, who is also the inking clerk, political party candidates, agents. Okay.
Yeah, the political parties have their agents.
Yeah, that is nice, because at least they'll be there to see if the election is free and fair. Medical personnel, just in case anything happens, observers, and 2 police officers. And that's amazing. At least we can see that IBC are somehow ready for this election. But also on page 5 it says that where are the polling stations exactly, but Nairobi is the mother of all of them, because when I'm checking here, Rift Valley has like 12,359 polling stations. That's a lot. Eastern has 7,000, Nyanza 6,000, Central 5,000, Western 4,000, Coast 3,000, Nairobi 3,000, Northeastern 1,000, Prisons 106, and Diaspora 27. So, okay, so looking at this, we can see that actually the IEBC is ready for this election.
Yep, and just to add on that, on page 10 of the Daily Nation today, there's a story there just confirming whatever you're saying right now, and it says, IEBC, we are ready for August elections. So this comes after the Independent Election Committee, the IEBC, yesterday launched the National Election Call Center and the National Election Media Center, which will serve as Election Formation Resources Center. Speaking at the launch of the 2 centers at the Bomas of Kenya, Nairobi Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera said IBC is fully prepared for the election. And just to quote what she said, it was like, we are prepared for the elections, and the launch of these 2 centers is a sign that it is all systems go. We are ready and prepared, as we have been doing so since the last election, said Ms. Cherera. So there's a National Election Call Center and a National Election Media Center, which will serve as election formation resource centers. Yeah. So we want to take their word for it that they are ready and everything is okay. We're just waiting for you voters to come in large numbers and vote for your leaders. Yeah.
So more of that story is on the Standard, is on page 4 and 5. You can check it out on your own free time. Now let's quickly move to another story on page 6 and 7. Says Uhuru to Deputy President, that is Ruto, Mr. Ruto. I've had power but didn't harm you despite your insults. Now we have been seeing the back and forth talking between the two, and it has come to a point whereby we really don't know, because you remember there was a time we were talking about this, and we saw that even religious leaders tried to come in and try to
unify the 2 leaders.
But as of now, we don't know how their relationships stand. But according to Mr. President, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, he says that I had power but didn't harm you despite your insults. And I want to maybe quote a bit what he said here. And he said that there's no need to tell people that I want to kill you. Why would I plot to kill anyone at a time when I am on my way out? That is the least of my worries. I have had power all this time, but did not do anything. So sell your agenda and leave me alone. I will do my job and complete it. You go and ask the electorate for votes. If they elect you, that's fine. If not, we will go home together. That is now according to Uhuru. And he continues saying that some of these people are very angry. Pardon me for that. Some of these people are very angry. Why are you angry? Anytime they open their mouths, what comes out is insults. I would like to urge all of you Kenyans to vote for a leader who can manage their anger in the next polls. And of course, Deputy President William Ruto replied to that. Yes, there's always a reply. He said, as long as you don't kill my children, I'm ready to face you in this election with your project. President, you shouldn't be source of a threat in Kenya. Stop threatening Kenyans. Your work is to ensure that all Kenyans are safe. Stop telling us we will know that you are the president.
Interesting.
What do you
Very,
think about
very.
this back and forth?
Oh,
It
it is
has
ve-
been happening, but I think right now
I
it
think
is bad.
I think the only way is we have the decision maker that will bring peace between the president and his deputy is after the 9th election polls. For now, we'll just have to sit down and see the back and forth between the two of them, because it's very interesting though that every action has a reaction, you know.
Yes. Now, speaking of action and reaction, so President Uhuru Kenyatta has 30 days in office from today, but this could be stretched into months depending on how the election play out. Because we know that for you to be the president, to be declared an outright winner in a presidential election, a candidate must get more than 50% of all the votes and at least 25% of the total votes in all the 47 counties.
47 counties, yeah.
So if no candidate meets this threshold, there have to be a runoff.
Yeah.
Now, the runoff will be conducted within 30 days, which means President Uhuru Kenyatta will in turn be in office as the runoff goes on. So we don't know, but as of now, he has 30 days in office. Yeah. Now, and on that note, we need to take a very short commercial break, but we will be back with more stories and also dwell a bit into politics. Don't you go anywhere.
Did you know that there is a bridge on Earth which got its name from the way people looked while crossing over it? A monkey bridge is a traditional, handmade wood or bamboo walkway built across rivers or gullies in Vietnam. These bridges sometimes consist of just one piece of wood or bamboo log, either with or without handrails. They can be very difficult and dangerous to cross for those who are not familiar with them, but for those locals who live nearby, they cross these bridges with ease as part of their daily lives. Monkey bridges are most commonly built across rivers in the Mekong Delta. You can also see the bridges in the coastal area of Red River Delta in northern Vietnam, built across streams and rice fields. This style of bridge was the inspiration for the title of a popular novel called Monkey Bridge, published in 1997 and written by Vietnamese American attorney and writer Lang Cao. But how did the bridge end up being called Monkey Bridge? Some suggest that it is because they are so difficult that you need to be an agile monkey to make it across without falling off. Others suggest the name comes from the posture most people assume when trying to cross one. Stay in the know with Isaac TV. Did you know that there is an island on Earth fully dominated by cats? Futada Island is widely known as the Island of Cats. It is just west of Rio de Janeiro and 20 minutes by motorboat from the city of Mangaratiba. It sits on one side of Brazil's Green Coast, an area known for its mountainous forests and hundreds of small islands. The population of nearly 250 cats can be traced back to a man and woman who lived on the island around 20 years ago. They left and did not take their two cats, so those animals did what most creatures when left alone will do. They had babies. As the cat's population grew, people took notice and some saw it as a place to live unwanted cats from the city. Over the years, fishermen threw unwanted pieces of fish and unneeded catch onto the island to feed the cats. Other people left container filled with water and store-bought cat food. That has helped the hundreds of animals stay fed. Stay in the know with Isaac TV.
Baba Jeff, urudi kulipa madeni zako. Sitakuwa na kuficha.
Aki please nifiche, hii ni mara yangu ya mwisho, nitamlipa. Huyo akinishika atanifinya. Usiwache yake anifinye bibi yangu, please.
Bari yako?
Nzuri.
Baba Jeff ako?
Sijui.
Simona umekuwa naye pale?
Hai?
Mwambie ajifunze kulipa deni za watu. Ukipatana naye nitamfinya.
Hai, hiyo ni yenu. Mimi sitaki kujua.
Wewe nini? Enda kwenye ulikuwa unaenda.
Hai, uko na nini?
My wife has superpowers. She can hide me out of plain sight. Na wako je?
Welcome back to Morning Dew Show here on Dissect TV, the creator of goodness. Remember, you can reach us through our social media platforms, that is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Dissect TV. The hashtag is always the Morning Dew Show. Now, we are at the political segment, and as you can see, I'm smiling. We have a very, very interesting topic for you. That's on page 9 of the Standard, and of course on page 11 of the Daily Nation. On the Standard, it says what Sonko's defection means to Nasir. What does yours say?
Yep, and on the Nation, it says Wiper accuses Sonko of being a traitor for joining Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see this coming though.
Yeah.
Given all that back and forth court hearings, judgments under the Wiper party, then later under the bigger picture, which is the Azimio collusion, then just pop once Mr. Sonko has traded on this other side, he's gone to UDA now.
And actually, his defection has an impact for Nasir, and we know Nasir is he's now vying for Mombasa governor race.
Yeah.
In Mombasa. So right now we know that actually Sonko is in Kenya Kwanza, and I don't know what made him make that decision in just maybe 8 days to election. I think he did that yesterday or the day before. Yeah, I don't know what made him think, okay, now I want you to go to Kenya Kwanza. But because of that, do you think he is fit? He's a good decision maker? Because changing parties like that.
I don't really understand why he had to make that move to do all that. But you can try and join the dots from when Sonko came out and said that there was something fishy between the deputy running mate of the Azimio side, that is Martha Karua, and her best friend, who is Martha Koome, alleged, as he said it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they had something to do with his predicaments in the political line as it is right now. So from that, you'd really think that, you know what, Sonko is going to betray these people, and surely he did that by moving from Wiper to the UDA side, Kenya Kwanza, and openly said it. And just to quote a little of what really shocked me on the Nation is that Mombasa gubernatorial seat. Okay, let me just take that again. Mr. Sonko only joined the party recently to vie for Mombasa gubernatorial seat to shield himself from his political vows that led to his impeachment in Nairobi in 2022. So that is what the Azimio side is saying, that, you know what, he just came out to see if he can get the votes from this other side. Now that he didn't get them, so this is this is how it goes on. And they say that all this time he was supporting DP Ruto and UDA, but he decided to come out openly. So all this time he's been on Wiper, running under the Azimio coalition. He's been a DP fan, and this time he decided, you know what, the prodigal son has to go back home. Yeah, and they took him in, so we don't know what happens next. But all we know that right now, Abdul Wamad Nasir, who is the ODM flag bearer into the gubernatorial seat of Mombasa, will be running for that under the ODM ticket, under the Azimio coalition as a whole. So I don't know what this brings as Sonko has defected on this other side, because, you know, as much as he also had a voice on that other side. So if he's going to get all those voters who are going to vote for Azimio on that side and channel them back to UDA, that's also a challenge that the Azimio side would also want to look into. Because he, over the time, he's been doing stuff like, you remember, he took the boxer, the champion, that is Congestina, to hospital.
Yeah.
That was a very big thing. And, you know, from whatever he's done to the Mombasa people for the time he's been there, he can sway the votes on his side or against Nasir. So those are some of the things I think the Azimio side is looking at. And just to look at it a little bit, they say, however, Sheikh Tawaha acknowledged that Wiper suffered a major blow following Mr. Sonko's defection. But his defection is not a blow because he was not in Wiper. He just joined us recently to shield himself from his political woes. We really helped him, he said. So I don't know what's on your side, but it's a very interesting story.
So on my side, according to the Standard now, the Mvita MP, Nasir, this is now according to analytics. Sonko's defection could be a blessing in disguise for Nasir, because the Azimio votes will be intact.
Yeah.
There were fears that Sonko could split Azimio votes to the disadvantage of Nasir. But right now, they will be intact. So as much as he has defected, it could be a blessing in disguise for Nasir, who is now vying for MP at Mvita. Yeah. And also, let me quote what maybe Charity Ngilu said. He said, research has shown that upcountry voters in Mombasa vote for parties led by their tribesmen. I can tell you that Sonko will not move with Luos, who backed him because he was in Azimio to UDA. For the Kamba votes in Azimio, they are still Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka is there. So, according to now Charity Ngilu, she is confident that the Luos will not move with Sonko as he's thinking. Maybe they'll move to now UDA. Yeah. And actually, there's a statement here that says that on Twitter, Sonko claimed that he was promised a CS post, 3 principal secretarial posts in the national government, 4 ambassadorial jobs, and 3 executives in Nairobi and Mombasa counties, and a similar number of chief offices in the 2 counties. Okay, that is big.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So if he, maybe that is part of the reason why he joined Kenya Kwanza.
And just to add on that, there's something here that Mr. Twaha said. It is disheartening that the party had to beg Kisauni MP Ali Mbogo to shelve his gubernatorial ambition in favor of Mr. Sonko, who has opted to desert them at the critical time. So remember, Ali Mbogo is he was supposed to run with Sonko as his deputy. So right now, this is what is happening. Wiper is now trying to wow Mr. Mbogo to remain in the party. That is after Mr. Sonko said he's defecting with his running mate, who has been assured of goodies if Mr. Ruto wins. We are talking to him, although Sonko said he is living with him the MP is yet to officially issue statement on his next political move. So you see, that is very interesting that he says, you know what, I'm defecting from your party, and you know what, I'm going with my deputy. You know, he's not really giving him a chance to weigh or choose whatever he wants. He's like, you know what, we're living. We had a plan together. We're living together. Yeah. But if you look at it, it's only Sonko who has been incriminated not to run. So Mr. Ali Mbogo still has a chance to do that. And we have also Mr. Nasir, who's also going to vie for the same governor seat of Mombasa. So I don't know.
Now I want to read something very crucial here that maybe might answer our question why Sonko left the Azimio. It says here, last Thursday, the High Court blocked Sonko from contesting after the Supreme Court upheld his impeachment as Nairobi governor by the Senate. After the ruling, Sonko blamed Azimio leaders for his tribulation.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. He blames his
bosses, his chief, that is the
his
Azimio.
Azimio leaders. Maybe that is the reason
So
as to why he chose now. Okay, now I cannot stay here. Let me go to Kenya Kwanza, and I'm moving with my deputy.
Yeah, and it really beats the notion. Was he really into it, as they say, oh, we could use whatever the Wiper officials are saying, that he only came to Wiper to shield himself from the impeachment and try and his chance on the other side of Mombasa gubernatorial seat. You know, it's really hard to know when Sonko is coming your way. It's like you should always be prepared for him, because you never know what next he'll be doing. Because you remember, he went to the Court of Appeal, went to the Supreme Court. We thought that was done. He didn't stop there. He went to Arusha, yeah, the East African courts. Then now he's defected to the UDA side. You know, we don't know what to expect of Sonko, but it's a race. They're no public enemies and they're no public friends. Like, they're no true friends and they're no true enemies. It's just a game. So, yeah.
Now, according to Abdallah Mohammed, he said that it appears that the plan was to keep Sonko busy at the court, and by the time he realizes he will not be on the ballot, it would be too late and he will have no option but to back Nasir. That is why maybe he was like, no, I cannot back him, because there was a time they had a back and forth with Nasir, and he asked, who can elect a man like Kumar? I have no time to trade accusations with him.
So maybe that's the reason why he's feeling wasted by the Azimio side, because he spent too much time on the coast. By the time he realized there was no chance for him to be on the ballot. But that's just it, you know. Yeah.
So what do you think about this? Did Sonko make the right decision, and was it a rush? Was it a hasty decision to say, okay, now that we are at maybe 8 days to election, I want to move to Kenya Kwanza? Was it a rush decision? Was it a good decision? What do you think about that? You can tell us on all our social media platforms.
Yep, and just to add the icing on the cake, there's something here we say that the Azimio side is saying, we are all in Azimio. You must go door to door campaigning for Mr. Odinga and Mr. Nasir, said Ms. Ngilu. At the same time, Mr. Nasir dismissed Mr. Sonko's deal with UDA candidate Hassan Omar as inconsequential. Even if they unite, they will not win the August 9 polls. I want to tell those who keep abusing me that I will be their governor, he said. So you see Nasir coming out now confident and saying, you know what, I'll be your governor, Mombasa. Wait for me. No matter how much Mr. Sonko deals up with the UDA candidate, that is Hassan Omar, for him, it's not a big deal. He's okay with it, and he's waiting for it, you know. So let's see how it goes. We will be looking, we'll have a keen eye on the Mombasa County, that is. Yeah.
So in regards to maybe his running mate, Mr. Mbogo, he said in Twitter post that he had secured a position for Mbogo in a deal he signed with Deputy President William Ruto. He said he was promised a cabinet secretary post, And I want to quote what maybe Mr. Ogogo said. And he said, but Sonko will not individually benefit from the deal he signed from Ruto because Chapter 6 of the Constitution bars him from holding public office.
Mm-hmm.
If it is true about now Mr. Mbogo, then everyone will expect the CS post to go to Ali Mbogo, who sacrificed his ambitions for him.
Mm-hmm.
So if he said that he was promised by Deputy President William Ruto a cabinet secretarial seat, then therefore this post will have to go to Ali Mbogo because he is not allowed to be in office because of his ambitions.
So many things are going against Mr. Sonko, and when you look at it keenly, you'd ask yourself, why is he really doing this? But we really don't know his game plan. He's always been surprising us in, day out, though. So we really don't know what is happening, what his game plan is. But all we know that there's an idea of promise that he was promised goodies if at all the UDA side will be able to make government come the 9th of August. Then he has a part, he has a slot, he has some goodies coming his way. That is all that happens with Sonko. So right now we're waiting to hear what his deputy will say, that is Mr. Ali Mbogo, if at all he will leave with his boss, that is Mr. Sonko, or he will stay on the Azimio side to venture in his political bid as a deputy governor of Mombasa to be.
So a very quick maybe news, which is maybe positive. The 27.8 kilometer Nairobi Eastern Bypass Road was expanded from a single to 2-lane road to a dual 4-lane carriageway. And actually this is what the president was launching yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes. And actually it's a big win for Kenyans because this is now part of his project, what he has been doing. Now the project, it has gone from 2 carriage to 4-lane carriageway, but at a cost of 12.5 billion.
Just to look at it on the other positive side is like now, for you to get to JKI, it's a very fast
It's
thing.
very fast, yeah.
And because it's 4 lanes now, we won't expect any congestions in it. It will be a direct way to the airport and back to Mlolongo, which is a very good thing.
So that is a very optimistic way of leaving the office because actually right now we have 4 carriageway, which is an advantage to Kenyans, and also we have a lot of other projects that the president has done. That is very, very nice. But right now, on that note, we need to take a very short commercial break. But when we come back, we'll be talking matters lifestyle. But be sure to look at today's Standard and also today's Daily Nation for more interesting stories. Don't switch that button.
Did you know that the 7 Mile Bridge is one of the longest bridge on Earth? The 7 Mile Bridge is a bridge in the Florida Key in Monroe County, Florida, United States. It connects Night Key, part of the city of Marathon, Florida, in the Middle Keys to the Little Duck Key in the Lower Keys. Among the longest bridges in existence when it was built, it is part of the Overseas Highway in the Keys, which is part of the 2,369-mile U.S. route. There are 2 bridges in this location. The modern bridge is open to vehicular traffic, the older one only to pedestrian and cyclists. The older bridge, originally known as the Nice Key Pigeon Key Mosa Channel Passat Channel Bridge, was constructed from 1909 to 1912 after the railroad was damaged by the Labor Day hurricane of 1935. The line was sold to the United States government. Stay in the know with Daisak TV.
Right from inception, The Daisak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Right from inception, the Daisak Media Services Limited has been committed to resolving the deficiency of empathy and progressive leadership and promoting mentorship in our social values system. Our vision and dream is to have a society where these values thrive for the well-being of all.
We strongly believe that every human has a right and a responsibility to self-actualize not only their individual potential, but that of the surrounding community.
Our media outlets use innovative broadcasts to highlight social challenges and chart the way forward to a progressive future where the elders embrace the energy of the young, while the young acknowledge the wisdom of their elders.
At Daisak Media Services Limited, we have infused technical diligence to ensure that we are accessible at the convenience of you, our audience. Here, we employ creativity and calculated logic to ensure that our news are accurate, fair, relevant, and timely, and that our shows are fascinating. Our rate card is determined by our resolve to maintain a balance between the industry standards and giving our investors great value.
Please join us in our deep-rooted commitment to bridge the gap between status quo and the future we desire for the current and future generations.
Daisak Media Services Limited,
where successful businesses
connect.
Did you know that there is an island that was cast on Earth? Gaiola Island is one of the minor islands of Naples of the city's Posillipo residential quarter in the metropolitan city of Naples and Campania region, southwest Italy. It is located within the Parco Sommaso di Gaiola. The island takes its name from the cavities that dot the coast of Posillipo. The Latin caviola passed through the region's dialects to become caviola. Originally, the small island was known as Euplea, protector of safe navigation, and was the site of a small temple. The island is very close to the coast, reachable with a few strokes of swimming. It is assumed that originally it was nothing more than an extension of the promontory opposite and was artificially separated only at a later time at the best of Lucullus. In the 17th century, the island was virtually littered with Roman factories, while 2 centuries later, the island served as a battery in defense of the Gulf of Naples. At the beginning of the 19th 19th century, the island was inhabited by a hermit nicknamed the Wizard, who lived thanks to the almsgiving of fishermen. Soon after, the island saw the construction of the villa that occupies it today, and which was owned by the maritime engineer Nelson Foley, brother-in-law to Sir Arthur Conall Dowling. Stay in the know with Daisak TV.
Welcome back to the Morning Dew Show here on Daisak TV, the cradle of goodness. Now, we are at the last segment, of course, the lifestyle segment. And we have a very interesting story and an educative one for that matter. It's on page 7 of the Standard, the health science.
And as usual, as we do it, we try to bring you stories on the lifestyle segment that really relate with you on a personal level. And today, whatever we're going to talk about, I know if you haven't seen someone, then you yourself has been a culprit to it. Yeah, at one point or the other, it has to come to you where you have, it's called a meeting with yourself. Yeah. So today, it's on page 7 of Health and Science, and we're going to talk about why Kenyans walk the streets talking to themselves.
Yeah. I know you've been talking to yourself, or you've seen someone talking to themselves, and you're wondering, hey, what is happening to this one? Are they okay?
Yeah.
But it happens, and right now, a lot of people are actually talking to themselves, and we want to get into details with that to know why are people talking to themselves, walking the streets. Is it that bad people are talking to themselves? Because, like in the past, when you saw someone talking to themselves, what comes to your mind is that, okay, this person is crazy.
I'm a cheesy.
Yeah.
Hey, he's mad. He should be taken to Mathare mental. But right now, these things are happening. In the streets, when you walk the streets, I think you find so many people talking to themselves. Or you are in a matatu, umekaa kando ya mtu in a mat, then all of a sudden you see them throwing hands, doing what, people are disturbed mentally. And what really can we attribute to all this, where so many people have meetings with themselves, oblivious of people seeing you? You know how you can be well dressed, but you're lost in your thoughts and you're in the streets. Then people look at you and be like, yo, what is really happening to you? But deep down, uko na meeting with yourself because it's hard. So I don't know some of the reasons that might make someone do that.
I don't know. Everyone talks to themselves at a point, and I know that the masks really helped us, because no one is seeing you talking. I don't know if I'm alone, but it gets to a point that you are just talking to your subconscious mind or something like that. Masks zilikuwa zinatusaidia sana, because no one can see you. You're just walking and you say, oh my God, I just want to get home at this point. But right now we're not wearing masks, so people can see you talking to yourself and like, hey, what is wrong with this one? And maybe, as Mr. Kilamba said, that you're dressed well, nothing is wrong with you. You don't look crazy. You're not behaving funny. You're just talking to yourself. And here are signs that you are talking to yourself. Yes, there are signs.
Yep.
And mumbling on the streets, and even making gestures, using facial expressions, and you're doing this with your hands, all these facial expressions. And sometimes you might think that it's a normal thing, but it gets to a point that now it becomes serious.
Do you know, it gets to a point where at times you think out loud, or you are thinking of something, but instead of just running it on your mind, you spoke it out, And when you look around, you're like, whoa, what did I just say? So you get to a point where you think aloud. And the problem here exactly is external factors, basically, that are coming in to put a lot of pressure in someone, yeah? Because right now we can look at, let's say, maybe the high cost of living.
Yeah.
So many people are not meeting their demands. You know, you leave home, you tell your wife, you know what? Babe, leo jioni, we are eating nyama, so be ready. You go out, do your hustles, wazee inafika jioni, hiyo pesa ya nyama iko, ndio. You don't know what you're going to tell them, you know, because already your word is your bond. Now you cannot keep your word. You'll start thinking, you'll start talking to yourself. There are scenarios, that is just the living standards. The economy itself, the way it's running you dry. You have kids, you have responsibilities, you know. If you are a married man, you have your in-laws to deal with. You have your own family to deal with. You have your siblings, your parents, you have your own children. All this, when they come into one brain, I think you would also talk to you. Have you ever done that, by the way? Have you ever been in a situation where you talk to yourself or think out loud? Just,
Yeah,
you know.
it happens to everyone at some point.
Yeah,
You
it
talk to
does,
yourself.
because
And actually, you don't know it because actually, right now, right here on this page, there's a victim who is called Michael Motiso. He says that at first I didn't know I was doing it, but I realized people were staring at me. Yeah, because like for Michael, it's because he's not able to get enough money to feed his family. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's stressful to him, and he does not have someone maybe to talk to this issue, or someone to actually borrow the money from. So he's like, oh God, where am I going to get the money? Not knowing that he's talking to himself.
and
It's
just
crucial.
and just to add on that, I think these things, we have to look at them, because at some point they're very critical to your mental health, because these external factors are, let's say, the high living standards, the economy as it is right now. We have very little resources that are being overstretched to cover so many people, you know. Then deep down in your cocoon, where you call yourself villa or your peaceful, humble abode, that is, you see, there are also things that come out there. You have children probably who have to go to school. You have school fees and stuff. They have to eat on a daily basis. Maybe if you are in a relationship that is toxic, or your relationship is not going well, all that is mental torture. So for you to have the best thing you can have in life right now is peace of mind. Let me tell you, it's just peace of mind, because peace of mind tells a lot. Right now, we're having a lot of youth indulging in drug and substance abuse, and it's because of all this. They don't seem to, 1 + 1 is not adding up to 2. So the only shortcut they can have is, maybe let me go drink myself silly, forget about this for now, and later come back into it. But reality travels slowly, but soon it still catches up with you. So in this case, there's so many things. If you're maybe in a toxic marriage, the economy, maybe the lifestyle you're living, the expectations people have on you, what you have on yourself, it's just putting a lot of pressure on you that brings out the mentality where you have to talk to yourself, think out loud. Yeah.
And something else here in regards to that, it says that, and it's actually someone who is quoting, maybe it's a victim, and he says that some women keep on pushing the man even when he has done his best. And that is why most are talking alone. You know, you're pushing.
Boy
He's
child.
not doing this, he's not doing this, but you have not looked at what he has done. You get
Yeah, you don't appreciate the positive side. You're so much measuring on the negative side, which is, we should give each other peace, by the way. In life right now, even if you're in a relationship, be in a peaceful relationship. Don't be in a relationship where you're locked, you're being looked down upon, because in the long run, it will mess with your mental health. You'd rather be in a relationship where you're peaceful and you give peace to your partner, and your partner gives it back. You have a kind of respectful kind of relationship. And if it's not that, don't do it, because on this same paper we have an emergence of gender-based violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so much so, it's funny though, but we should be laughing about it. The men, please, let's not laugh about it. It's very serious. Now, there are men right now are experiencing gender-based violence, and you don't really come out to talk about it because you know what? Maybe this guy is a banker. Let's say he's a CEO somewhere, but he goes back home. He doesn't have that peace. He's being battered by the wife. He won't come out and tell people, you know what, jana nilipigwa na mama nani, mi hata sijui nifanye aje. You know, he'll just be suffering in silence. So guys, we should stop this, or we'll be talking to ourselves all the way. Everyone will be individually talking to himself for the longest time. Yeah.
And actually, another thing is that many employees are going through burnout in their workplaces due to lack of work-life balance, and most are unable to cope. Where you have a lot of work and you have deadlines, you have to meet deadlines, you know, sometimes it becomes so stressful for you, you're not able to handle it. So the only way is to just talk.
Yeah. And you know, just to talking about work stress, that is also something that is there. You might have maybe the relationship between you and your bosses, your expectations at work. You may have burnout, you don't have time for your family. You have pressure from your family to do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing for them. You know, you have maybe your bosses are not doing their part, or you're not doing your part. So it all comes down to the mental stability that you should be having. In the long run, it might tire you out and break you down. So you have to check on this kind of stuff, the mental health problem. It's a big thing in Kenya right now.
So yeah, it's an issue, and actually it needs to be discussed. But when it gets to a point whereby you are talking to yourself and now you are thinking about maybe doing something bad to yourself, now this time it's now crucial. Like you need to see a doctor.
Suicidal.
It's advisable to see a doctor, because you don't know why you're talking to yourself. Maybe you're too stressed and you don't even have anyone to actually tell your issues, or you're scared that if you tell them they'll laugh at you or go tell other people.
Use it against you later.
Yeah, you know, but you're not alone. But if you are